also.
We come in, we look forward to seeing each other. We look forward to brainstorming with each other, because most of the times in schools and even in departmental,
collaborate with one another. We get to see and hear what other teachers are doing in their classrooms, so we can have a more universal perspective of social studies and
My
history.
best memory for the last 3 years is absolutely the collaboration and camaraderie with teachers that I never would have partnered with or planned with. It's
My
been
best
awesome.
experience as a project director this year would be connecting historical scholars at local universities and institutions to our participating teachers. I was really inspired by their eagerness to be part of the community and to get outside of the university environment and work with teachers, and they were very curious about what was going on in the classroom and how they could be part of K through 12 education. So that was really
Another
exciting.
great thing about TAH is the connections that I've made with the people. The staff, the people who run this program, the other teachers who are involved in this program. I cannot even begin to tell you how invaluable it is as a teacher, having colleagues that you admire, respect, and you know you can lean on.
Gone on the first leg of our trip for the summer, the Teaching American History Grant. We went on the Civil Rights Tour with Martha Boyer, and I had the best time of my life. I got to walk in the footsteps of the foot soldiers who allowed me to be the teacher and the person that I am today, and I'm so grateful for that. And I will use all of my experiences in the classroom by making history come alive for my students, letting them touch replicas and artifacts of the real things that happened, to let them know why I do what I do and why it's important for them to be active citizens in our lives and in our community when they graduate from high school.
To have wonderful experiences, to bring back stories that I can share with my students so that they can actually connect the dots. And it's easier to tell an amazing story when you've actually been to certain places.
This opportunity for me as a teacher was fantastic because I got so many first-hand accounts of events that happened, and that made it more real for me, which will help me make it more real for my students who are very young, and a lot of them don't have a concept of things like the civil rights movement and immigration to this country. So being able to bring those first-hand accounts to them is really going to make a difference to me in my classroom and as a teacher.
Some of the places I didn't realize we had here in South Carolina, I can bring that to my classroom.
I'm able to better understand how each of these places fit into the history of South Carolina.
I can use South Carolina history and incorporate it into anything.
It's an opportunity for me for traveling with the Teaching American History Grant gave me the opportunity to finally see the events and the places I was teaching my students about. And that was worth it.
Part of the field study was learning from the guides and getting the insider information that, you know, even you probably wouldn't get in a book or
It was the chance for me to show my kids how excited I was about history.
Oh, that is exactly true. It got to the point where my students, and I was teaching 8th grade at the time, what did you learn last night?
Yeah.
What did you guys talk about? What book? Is that the book you're reading, Mrs. Nicomo?
Yep.
What is that about?
That my students have really enjoyed is being able to look at something, maybe a historic event or a situation in history, and ask about if this group is telling this, or we're reading it in our reading anthology and we're hearing it from this perspective. What about these other groups that we now know existed who probably would not say it in the very same way, especially if there was some controversy involved?
Because of the education and fabulous lecturers, wonderful books that I've been exposed to, I'm able to go back in my classroom, use this information to create dialogue that is meaningful to not only to me but to my students. My enthusiasm is infectious to them, and they get excited about what they're learning. And so I just, please, try to keep this going. It's a great way for our kids to learn about history and to love.
Because of the Teaching American History Grant program, our teachers not only know more about history, they know how to teach it better than they ever did before. Our students are the beneficiaries, ultimately, of this grant because of the increased skill and content that our history teachers have. We owe a lot to the Teaching American History Grant program. The test scores of our students have gone up, and we see a direct
That's what Teaching American History Grant does, is gives us the skills, the strategies to actually use in the classroom. And that has been so important that I've taken that into my classroom, and I feel very confident that I'm doing the best for
Something
my
that I
students.
really learned to use effectively in my classroom was the use of primary documents. Primary documents was not something that I fully understood before going through the program, and after going through the program and really realizing how useful they can be. My students and myself have, I think, really used them effectively to the point where we really want them on a daily basis, and we really need them.
One of the ways that some of my students viewed this change in curriculum, I had a new student that came into my class towards the middle to the end of the year, and after about 2 weeks in my classroom, she said, "You know, you sure do a lot of history, Mrs. Dignan. I'm not sure that I like history, I never have." And the little boy sitting right next to her said, "You will learn to love it. We all have." And I knew then that I was starting to make a big change in my students' lives.
I will always be in debt to this grant. It's the best professional development after teaching for 10 years that I've ever encountered. And I also scheduled my C-section around the grant to the Monday after a CLOCA grant because I didn't want to miss all the wonderful information. So thank you.
To be honest with you, I was totally afraid to teach history before this grant. I'm totally guilty of not teaching history because I teach to the test. I teach language arts, I teach math, and I teach science, which fifth graders are tested on at the end of the year. And it wasn't until this grant that I became more confident that I could use history with the other academics, such as, you know,
One of the things that came as a big surprise to me and a real lesson learned for me was the ability of elementary teachers to take sophisticated historical content and bring that into their classroom, even for young learners. When we first started recruiting elementary teachers into our program, I was quite frankly of the attitude that it didn't necessarily matter that elementary students have a real social studies experience as part of their curriculum and really engage with traditional American history at that young age. But I couldn't have been more wrong.
I always do a community circle, and I ask the kids what's their favorite subject, and usually it's recess and gym, and that's pretty much all that they say. Some will say reading, but that's about it. Well, at the end of the year, I did it again, and over half the kids said that social studies was their favorite subject. So that was really exciting to me that they were excited about it. And
Hi, my name is Barbara. This is my first year in TAH. It's been wonderful. It has filled that starving part of my teacher soul, whereas we have been told to teach reading and math for years, but our children need history. So.
American History Grant has allowed me many more opportunities than I could have ever learned in a classroom or graduate level course. It has afforded me opportunities with hands-on experience, opportunities with history professors from all over the United States, travel opportunities, and I've brought all of my knowledge that I've gained from having these opportunities back to my students. And I feel that the students have really received a better understanding of USA.
I don't know what kind of a teacher I would be. I know that I've been nominated for Teacher of the Year twice, and I know it's not because I'm a new teacher, it's not because the district has helped me, it's because of this grant. Truly, this grant has helped me to become the teacher that I am. The passion I have to teach, it's how to teach it. And that's what Teaching American History has done for me. Just teach me how to teach.
And by the end of the program, I think we discovered that we got far more out of it than we had ever anticipated. I think for me personally, it helped to make me a much better history teacher, American history teacher specifically. It helped me to teach students how to do history, not just to learn it. Not just learning the facts, but getting in there, using the primary sources, learning about different cultures, different perspectives.
Extreme pleasure being involved with the Teaching American History Grant for about 3 years now, and it has changed my life. It's been a life-altering event. I am so much better of an American citizen than I used to be. I know so much more. My depth of and love for American history has grown so much.
Time here has helped me to remember why I wanted to teach social studies in the first place.
I have been part of TAH for almost 3 years now, and it has made me grow as an educator and as a person so much. If it weren't for TAH, I probably would have not developed this interest and this understanding of history that I've never really had.
The chance to go places I never would have gone on my own.
3 years ago, I had started the TAH program, and it was my first year being back in an 8th grade classroom as a U.S. history teacher. And let's just say my content knowledge was not what I needed it to be the best teacher I could be for my students. So I was very thankful to have TAH stand behind me and help me in my classroom. I can happily say that within a short period of time, just 3 years, I am on top. My students are on top. My students know about the TAH program because they see the direct influence that it has given me, and I pass it along to my students.
Through the grant, we were afforded the opportunity of time. The meeting time, the time to really invest in our own learning, which so rarely do we get as teachers. So rarely. It's always focused on what's our next lesson, what's our next test, we got to grade this, we have to record that, we have to talk to this parent. And so that investment in our own learning was huge.
When I started taking this grant, I would very rarely ever raise my hand or get involved in the discussions. This has just been tremendous personal growth for me. Friends and family have realized that I feel like I have something to say in our own private conversations. I get really excited about the places we visited, the field trips, as well as
I'm so grateful for TAH. TAH has given me the ability to become the best teacher I can possibly be. Without TAH, I would not have the confidence to be able to take history and put it across my curriculum. When I think about what this has done for me as a person, it's making me not want to be just an ordinary teacher, but an extraordinary teacher.
This has been an incredible experience of personal learning, curriculum, introduction, and resource management. So I just want to let everyone in TAH know what a great time I've had this year, and also thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to learn more about my country, my liberties, my rights, and my values, so that as an American I can teach my children in my classroom how great it is to be an American. Thank you.